And, my dad was a brutal alcoholic. My dad had come from a home they were alcoholics, and my dad wasn't one of those funny ones. He wasn't somebody that you're like, oh, dad's drunk, so now we're going to get some treats and we're going to, he's going to laugh a lot. My dad was a very mean alcoholic. And I remember far back as I was 4 years old and we lived in a farmhouse. And I remember my mom putting my sister and I in the bathtub and telling us to stay there. And she had ran water and there was bubbles. And for some reason, bubbles was not something that we had in our family. But here my mom puts bubbles, inside of the bathtub. So you knew something was about to happen, and my dad had pulled into the driveway. And he had come into the house and he was drunk and he was mean. And I remember the vision of me standing up in the bathtub crying and wondering what's going on, because we didn't know, because we were stuck in the bathtub. And my dad had become so mean and violent that he actually tried to pick up the refrigerator and throw it at my mom. So I remember, that was one of the first things that I remember. And I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember when I was 8 years old, my parents split continually. My dad would get really drunk. He'd go to rehab and my mom would split and we would move. And then my dad would, not drink for a while. So then my mom would come back and we would all have to go back with my dad. And I remember I was 8 years old and my father had changed. My father had gone to church and my father had gone to rehab and he wanted his family back. And we lived in New York and we had to move to Virginia. And I remember my mom was cleaning out our chairs, to pack them up, to put them in the U-Haul. And she was cleaning them because this is a kind of funny story. She was cleaning them because my brothers and sisters and I, whenever she served us liver, and she would leave the room, we would shove all the liver up inside of the chairs, so she was cleaning it all out. And I went to her and I was 8 years old and I said, Mommy, please, I don't want to go back to Daddy. And she just looked at me and I said, please don't make us go. Can I stay with Grandma? Can I live with Grandma? And I remember my mom slapping me across the face and saying, Bambi, you don't understand. And we got into the U-Haul truck and we, left to go to Virginia. And the first 6 months with my father, he was great. We went to church. He was singing and it was really good. And it only lasted 6 months. And then my father, started the drinking again. And he would line all of us up on the couch. And he would scream at us, telling us, that we weren't his and that, we didn't belong to him. And he hated us. And he was just drunk. And I really hated my mom, for making us go, because I knew that my dad hadn't changed. And as an 8-year-old little girl, I knew. And when she slapped me across the face and said, I didn't understand. And, and I didn't understand until 20 years later. I didn't understand until 20 years later when I got hit for the first time. I didn't understand until 20 years later when I got spit in my face and said that I was going to amount to nothing and I was only trailer park trash. I didn't understand when I called my brothers and I asked my brothers to come and just beat him up a little bit so he would stop hitting me. I didn't understand until my brothers said, we will do that, but if you don't leave, we won't. So at those moments that I had to experience abuse from the hands of somebody that said that they love me, I didn't understand that question. And I didn't understand my mom's answer in desperation until I had to walk through it myself. We think we know all the answers. When we see other people, in really tough situations and in abusive situations, we want to tell them exactly how they're supposed to do their thing. And somebody asked me just recently, what would you say to a woman that is being abused? And I said, I'm probably not going to say something that you would think that I would say. But as a woman that has been in situations that my husband has choked me until I passed out, and then I wake up and he's laying on the couch as if nothing had happened. I didn't know that I would be the woman that I would make lasagna and he would smash the pan on the ground and it shatter all over the place, and take my spaghetti sauce and dump it inside of a sink. Everybody told me, Bambi, you're so strong. You're never going to be abused. But I couldn't tell people that I wasn't strong, that I was being abused. And so I tell women today that you have to make those decisions for yourself. I need to walk beside you. I don't need to tell you what to do. Because if I tell you you need to leave and then you leave because I told you, you're going to go back. If I say to my friends, I love you enough to walk beside you no matter what you go through, and that I will love you if you stay and I will love you if you go. But all that I want you to do is start preparing yourself for the time that you're going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you're finally going to make an effort. Start taking the pictures of all your documents. Start going to the grocery store and getting gift cards that he's never going to notice that you got a gift card because you went grocery shopping. Start preparing things until that moment. And domestic violence is not the same for everybody. Some have it really bad, you know, not saying that what happened to me wasn't bad, but it wasn't, it was bad, but I've seen worse. And sometimes that's why I stayed, because I saw worse. And if this woman can put up worse than what I'm putting up with, then what am I complaining about?